What hot stocks am I trading now? What longer term strategies am I using on this hot bull market? What factors will keep this bull market going forward? Hang on. This is not financial nor professional advice. This video is for entertainment only. Digital Turbine, whose symbol is APPS, APPS, has a market capitalization of about $2.25 billion. So it's a relatively small company, but they did a huge increase to their size because they borrowed $900 million and bought all kinds of ad agencies so they could run the ad agencies on Android phones. And this has really been producing money hand over fist. As you look at the chart, you can see the price to earnings. The trailing price to earnings is 62, but don't let that dissuade you, because it's the forward price to earnings that's significant because they are making so much money. Their forward price to earnings is only about 12, okay? And that's because their earnings growth rate is so incredible. Its earnings growth rate is 43%, which puts it among the elite of earnings growth rate stocks. So I think this is something that's going to go to the sky, or at least it's been in the trenches and has been going down. I think it hit near 90 within the last year, and then it went down as low as 14. But I don't invest at the very bottom. I wait for it to start to pop up, and it's done the poppage in the last month. So I think I'm going to jump in on it. And this might not be the very bottom, but I suspect that it is. And if it's not the bottom, we're very close to a bottom. And I think we're close to a major breakout in price going up. One of the best investments I've made recently has been in solar stocks. And these are long-term investments that I plan to hold. These solar stocks have been financially rewarding. I own Canadian Solar. Its symbol is CSIQ. It's the purple line in the chart you see. It's gone up about 24%. And I also own RAYS, R-A-Y-S, which is a global solar ETF, and it's gone up about 9%. RAYS, R-A-Y-S, is the line in green. So there's plenty of green to be had from both of these. But I like them especially because it helps to solve the energy problem to a degree. It helps clean up the environment to a degree. And I think ultimately the main thing is that it helps prevent war, as it seems like the countries we get involved with, oil is usually a part of the problem. And this is a part of the way of solving the problem. And it's my small way of contributing to trying to do some good in the world. My favorite long-term trade is Tesla. I trade in and out of it all the time. And I've been doing that. And it's gone up above 900 and it's gone down to below 850, and I ended up somewhere in the middle, and I ended up pretty much flat on the stock. So I think there's things that are confusing to the stock and to the shareholders, and I think he's going to be forced probably by the court to buy Twitter because he committed to a deal to buy that company. And once you commit to a deal and are firm about it, the courts sort of expect you to go through with that deal. And I think it's highly likely, and I think he suspects that it's highly likely that he's going to be forced to buy Twitter. And He sold $8 billion of Tesla. It's already been sold. It's not going to affect the price going forward. The damage has already been done. And it might be positive in the sense that it lowers his stake in Tesla and distributes it amongst other shareholders. Uh, and it won't be so dependent on what Elon Musk does. It'll be a little less dependent. But I think he belongs with science. He belongs with technology. He belongs with SpaceX. He belongs with Tesla. We don't need him in social media making irrelevant quirks that only get him in trouble with the SEC anyway. And I think he was trying to get past that and get over that. I don't think it's his thing. I think his thing is science, and I think we want him to stick with science always. Clearfield Incorporated, its symbol is CLFD, is a fiber optics company whose product is in demand. It's a $1.6 billion market capitalization, and it has a wonderful earnings growth rate of 41%. Its price to earnings is still very high. So this is a little bit riskier, but I like the area it's in, and so I'm sticking with it. And as we look at the chart, you can see it's had nice steady upward movement. During this rally, it seems like the more risky stocks are the ones that are doing the better. I suppose that'll reverse if the rally reverses, but I don't expect the rally to discontinue unless some black swan event occurs, and that can always happen. But right now, we're just waiting for what September is going to bring as far as the inflation data goes and as far as what the Federal Reserve goes. So we're in a period where we can have some growth, and we're being allowed to have this growth because the Federal Reserve is taking hands off for a month to see what the effect is of what they've done. I own two semiconductor equipment stocks, and these are stocks that provide equipment to semiconductor factories so that they can make the products that they make. They can test them. Usually it has a lot to do with the testing, but it can be anything. It's so complicated how they make these semiconductors. But the standout winner has been AHR Systems. That's AEHR Systems. And it has a wonderful growth rate of 41%. And its price to earnings is 20, which for a high technology company, that isn't that bad. It's actually pretty reasonable. And it has been the most successful of the two. My other semiconductor equipment stock is Axcelis Technologies. That's AXCELIS Technologies, symbol ACLS. And it has a good growth rate, an excellent growth rate of 35%. And its price to earnings is a very reasonable 15. And more and more, the way I'm starting to go with stocks is it seems with these two stocks are kind of a case study in this. They're in a similar area. One has a little bit better growth rate, but a little worse price to earnings. But the one with the highest growth rate is the one that has done the best. This stock, I was expecting this stock to do better because it is positively undervalued. At 15 for a technology stock like this, that is really low, and 35% is still a wonderful growth rate. So I was expecting this to take off, but that's not what happened. It did okay. Axcelis Technologies did okay, and it's a good stock to own, I think, for the longer term. But AEHR, that stock did so much better in the last month. It's really astounding. So in the last month, Axcelis Technologies, as you can see from the chart, Axis Technologies is in red, and A-Hair Systems is in purple. Axis Technologies did okay at 35%. But look at A-Hair Systems. Wow. It made 117% in a month. It doubled in a month. And I think it's just getting started because its price to earnings is still pretty reasonable for a technology stock. So I think these are both good stocks that I plan to hang on to. So I may have saved the very best for last. Super microcomputer has a PE of only 13. It has a growth rate of 36%. It's just an outstanding stock. They make all sorts of computer equipment, of course. I think their main thing is computer servers. And let's take a look at the chart. And Super Microcomputer's chart for the last month is pretty, as they would say. Look at that nice going upward line, 58% in 1 month. Geez, I'll only make 500% if it keeps going like this in a year. But it probably won't do that. But I expect it to keep going forward somewhat. I think it's a good long-term bet. Coming out of a crash like we're coming out of, I believe we're coming out of, I think it's going to be choppy at first. I think we're going to have fits and starts. I think we're eventually going to take off just because a number of things are going right. One of the major signs, very positive, is that inflation may have peaked. And the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, came in at 8.5%. They were expecting 8.7%. So that's starting to decrease. The month-on-month increase in inflation was zero. It didn't increase from last month overall. So that was very good to see. Now, core inflation, as it turns out, headline inflation, which includes energy and food, that went down somewhat, or at least was less than we expected it to be. On the other hand, core inflation increased 0.2%, 0.2%. And that's because the core inflation is more sticky because I think mainly because of rent. Once landlords set their rent and they've had increased expenses with buying properties and stuff, that tends to move slower. And so that's to be expected. But there's signs that inflation is decreasing even in China. There's indications that retailers are getting a buildup of inventory, and they'll be forced to sell it at a discounted price. So these things are starting to happen. Commodity prices are encouraging. They have been down and have been going down. 2/3 of them are going down. The big one, of course, is gasoline. They think that will continue to go down somewhat. I don't think a lot, but anything helps at this point, and we're so happy with it. The bill that was passed in Congress was amazing. I mean, they tackled the climate by encouraging clean energy and giving electric vehicle credits. You wonder how they got this thing passed. They paid for it with taxes on corporations. Corporations were given a minimum tax of 15% on profit they report to shareholders. They have to be worth over $1 billion for that minimum tax to apply. And also, they are taxed 1% on stock that they buy back. Okay, so they're saying you have all this extra money to buy your own stock back, you can pay some tax. So it makes a certain amount of sense. There was a little bit of everything for everybody in this. Kirsten Sinema is a very moderate Democratic senator from Arizona. And to get her vote, to seal the deal, to get her vote for sure, because her and Joe Manchin are always kind of on the borderline, and they got to pull them in. They encouraged her to vote for it by giving $4 billion of drought relief to the Southwest. And believe me, in Arizona, the water situation is a long-term concern. So they won her over with that. But the tax provision made it so that it would reduce the deficit somewhat over the years. So it's not making our cumulative national debt worse. And I think that was a big factor. And that also helps control inflation. And so that helped overcome Joe Manchin's disagreements. But the main thing is they addressed three major areas: climate, taxes, and inflation in one bill and got it passed. I mean, previous presidents, they're lucky to have one big thing that they get through. And this is just like amazing. And it's showing the system is starting to work and maybe can be kept working, hopefully. We have to hope that the spirit of compromise can move through the Congress and through the executive branch and judicial branches as far as that goes, and that we can reach reasonable settlements and understandings with each other without getting too vehement about it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of new videos. Be careful in the market, but I think this is a point where we can make some money if we're careful about it. Keep your eyes on the day-to-day action, but I'm getting more to take a longer-term point of view. I think we're going to slog through this. I think we can make it through this, and I think we're going to come out okay. Thank you. Goodbye.